out to Socrates. Socrates still trying to get the opening. Oh, Socrates! Whoa!
And there it is. The crazy gang have beaten the Culture Club.
Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me? Maggie Thatcher, your boys took the hell of a beating. Your boys took the hell of a beating.
Paragraph 2, subsection 1.14 of Your Boys. No, we are Your Boys took a hell of a beating, but this is 1979-80 revisited. Christmas spirit is already kicking in at the Scragg household. Dave Bowler alongside me again. And it's towards the baseball ground, the BBC's cameras. One of the reasons why ATV were probably thinking, tell you what, let's put a bit of extra petrol in the tank and head towards Old Trafford for the Manchester United Forest game in the previous paragraph. Mr. George Tyson of Sunderland, Dave, another recognisable refereeing name, is at the helm of this one. The Liverpool side is as usual. Probably don't need me to rattle it off again, but I will do. Ray Clemence, Phil Neal, Alan Kennedy, Phil Thompson as captain. It's Ray Kennedy, Alan Hansen, Kenny Dalglish, Jimmy Case, David Johnson, Terry McDermott and Graham Souness. It's an unchanged Liverpool side for the fifth successive game. Steve Highway is the substitute for this one. Presumably David Fairclough has refused to get it into the coach for yet another away trip. For Derby, we have debutant. We have Trevor Whymark, who as I think it's Barry Davies on the commentary for this one, denotes that he has come in from American football, Dave. NASL rather than the NFL in this respect. We're not talking kind of like Derby County and American football helmets and all this type of stuff, a ram on the side of the, all very LA Rams or whatever they're called. Dave McKellar, Dave Langan, Steve Buckley, Jerry Daly, Dave Webb, Keith Osgood, the captain, Steve Emery, Dixon, Barry Powell. We've got the aforementioned Whymark, Roger Davis, Bruce Rioch, and it's Paul Empson on the bench. For Derby County, Dave, Whymark is the 26th different Derby player to take to the field for them this season. It's not Christmas yet. We're not at the 21 game mark halfway point. We're very close to it. That's a hell of a lot of play. We're a year and a half away from Aston Villa clinching a league title with 14 players. And here's Derby, not even into the new year yet. Player number 26.
I had to go back and listen to that twice to make sure he did say 26 because it seems impossible. I mean, firstly, this is not the squad era that we are now. It's one substitute a game. It's usually the same substitute most weeks, as we've said with Steve Highway and David Fairclough. To have managed to have got 26 players on the pitch in, what would it be, about 18, 19 games at this stage, that's unbelievable. It's an incredible turnaround of players. It's no wonder Derby are stuck down the bottom. There can't have been very many teams in that era who would have got anywhere near having 26 players on the pitch by the time you get to the end of the season, never mind at the start. And you would only find them probably bumping the numbers up in the last half a dozen games when probably the season was over. They're not going up, they're not going down, they're not qualifying for Europe, and they play one or two of the promising reserves or something. 26 players is off the scale, isn't it?
It is. A quick look at the league table. This is Derby's 21st game of the league season. So they are at this is them reaching the halfway mark. There's no John Duncan, back injury. We've got Roger Davis, who's returned to the club from his own travels. He's even gone and played on the continent. I think he was at Bruges at one point as well. And, so he's gone here, there and everywhere and stretched his wings a bit, but ended back up at the baseball ground. This is Derby side that beat Nottingham Forest not so long ago, put 4 past them. They're a strange entity at this point in time. There's been moments of promise, but there's been a lot of calamity and clearly a huge scattergun nature to Colin Addison's selection of sides. There's a lot of indecision over, what his best side is, certain individuals for certain positions. A cluster of, I could only presume here, a cluster of injuries, but also a cluster of indecision over certain problem positions.
You've got to remember, this is here we are, Christmas 1979. They'd won the league sort of 4 years before that. Won the league twice in the 1970s, and here they are looking at an absolute shambles. It's an extraordinary kind of fall from grace for Derby over a very short period of time, and as you say, it's clear that they don't know what their best team is, and all of that, and that. That they're suffering accordingly, stuck down the bottom of the table in the bottom three, kind of bottom 3, bottom 4, right the way through the season, and bad times are coming for Derby County the way it's going. Although they do get some good times in very early on, fairly controversial fashion.
They have a very fast start, Dave. Within seconds, they've got a penalty. Thoughts? As Phil Neal comes into contact with, I'm not sure who it was, but on Davies himself, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's what you would describe ordinarily as a coming together. I don't think there's a great deal in it, particularly in the first minute of a game. You're surprised to see be awarded penalty, particularly in the 70s and 80s. It's not what you would customarily see as a penalty, but there you are within the first minute. Roger Davies is sending Ray Clemence the wrong way, and Derby are a goal to the good. Scored too early, I think you might find.
Yes, they've antagonised the bear somewhat here. In contemporary terms, this is a nailed-on penalty. It's one of those. It's clumsy, and there's no intent, but it's clumsy. It's a defender should not be doing what he's doing there. And but by December 1979 terms, arguable. I think most arguable. Although there are other penalties to come this season. That having watched some footage, there's a highly questionable Gordon McQueen one to come in future paragraphs. On the McQueen scale, this is never a penalty, but on the realism terms, probably. I think as a Liverpool fan looking at that, I'm thinking, I get it. If it's in the other end, I'm screaming for the penalty, but I understand why it's not given. It's one of those type of penalties, and like you say, converted. With a plum by Davies, it's his first goal since return to the club. Dave, this is a Derby side that, like I say, they put 4 past Forest a few weeks ago. They've not won since. They've not been able to build on that Forest win. Liverpool's response doesn't take too long in coming, but it's by peculiar manner. In between Derby taking the lead in the opening seconds and Liverpool's 17th minute equaliser, McDermott puts one over the bar. And there's I love these goalmouth scrambles where there's just utter chaos going on. There's boots being swung. There's no kind of thought. It's just kind of reactionary stuff. And there's just kind of like whoever makes contact with the ball fully next is going to prosper. But it's one where it's not for the faint-hearted, because within that, the boots swinging, there's kind of like there's injuries to be sustained. They're a glorious thing, especially on a pitch that isn't fit for purpose, Dave.
The baseball ground is surprisingly green for December, given its reputation. Although that may be something to do with the quality of the pictures that we're looking at, which is on a VHS that's been copied about 500 times, I think, before it's been put onto YouTube. I mean, it does flare a bit, shall we say.
This one does. It has to be said that there's certainly Liverpool with the red kits. It looks like 11 Ready Brek men. The kids who've eaten the Ready Brek and they have that glow around them, like the old adverts did. Yeah, not the greatest of quality footage, but we get a long, good chunk of game here, about 25 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, the sort of the scramble you talk about, it's eventually cleared by Derby, and then Dave Webb of Chelsea and QPR fame goes charging out to finally clear it. Barry Davies describes him as the Panzer Division arriving. Unfortunately, in arriving, he gives away a free kick, which sets up Liverpool for the equaliser.
It does. It's a Ray Kennedy free kick from the left, and it's the unfortunate Roger Davies who cancels out his own opening goal.
It's a very bizarre own goal. I mean, he gets up to loop this header into his own net. There's no Liverpool player near him. He's in the middle of a clutch of 3 Derby players. There's no pressure of any kind, and yet he unerringly manages to put it into his own net. It's like he's apologising to Phil Neal for the penalty somehow. It's a very odd piece of work.
It is, and Barry Davies now declares it to be, it really is the season of Christmas gifts as part of his immaculate commentary, as we would expect of the great Barry Davies. For Liverpool, it's kind of like an utter present. Derby haven't even wrapped it. Liverpool have said, don't even bother wrapping it, just give it us in the bag. And they take this, and soon enough you've got Jimmy Case with a curling shot, the outside of the boot. An excellent save from Dave McKellar.
It's a brilliant save, sort of arching backwards to get it away. I mean, when, as we've said before, when Jimmy Case hits it, it stays it, and it's a good effort, swerving sort of drive from about 25 yards out. But it's a very, very good save from the Derby goalkeeper to keep him in in the match. I mean, they must be feeling a bit sorry for themselves having conceded that stupid own goal. But they're clinging on now because now Liverpool are starting to really turn up the wick.
They are. They're putting the pressure on. Alan Kennedy puts one just wide from distance. I mean, we talk about Jimmy Case's right foot. Absolutely thunderous. Kennedy could hit one with a left foot. He would go on to prove that many times over the years. A lot of power in that left foot that goes unconsidered. From Alan Kennedy. Alan Kennedy's often seen as the bass player or the drummer of this Liverpool side, but even by Liverpool fans, I think. For a man who scores 2 winning goals in European Cup finals, and there's goals in multiple League Cup finals as well by Alan Kennedy. If we touch on Alan Kennedy, you've interviewed Alan Kennedy with regards his run to the FA Cup final in '74 with Newcastle. He is the we spoke about Jimmy Case being kind of like not overshadowed, but there's a lot of light that he is competing for in that Liverpool midfield. Alan Kennedy in that back line has the same type of situation, given that there's Phil Neal, who's handed the nickname of Zico by the Liverpool supporters and his teammate. Hansen doing Hansen things, and Phil Thompson being this cornerstone who himself started as a central midfielder that could move the ball and go forward, but would often let Alan Hansen do it. Alan Kennedy, he suffers, not suffers, but he has the same kind of position that Jimmy Case holds in that Liverpool midfield. Yeah,
I think you're right, and in part it's the quality of all the people around him at Liverpool, and also I think because he didn't play for England, on a regular basis, that sort of elevates you as well, doesn't it? Again, he was at the same time as Kenny Sansom, so he didn't get too many opportunities. Mick Mills, I think, played a lot of football for England at left back as well in that kind of period, late 70s, early 80s. So he didn't get the wider national recognition that comes with being an international. But I always remember when I spoke to Jeff Twentyman when I was doing the Bill Shankly book, and he said to me, at Liverpool, we'd go and watch players umpteen times, obviously, and we'd always talk to people in the game about him. And as soon as somebody said on his day, we wouldn't sign him, because if it was about on his day, we weren't interested. And that's exactly what Alan Kennedy is. It's never on his day. Alan Kennedy was always Alan Kennedy. Every game of the season, he was Alan Kennedy. He was 7, 8 out of 10 every week, no problem. Those are the players that win championships.
They are, and that's what's quite telling about this Liverpool side in this particular season is the contributions of an Alan Kennedy, the contributions of a Jimmy Case and a Dave Johnson.
Yeah,
that we've spoken about several times, in previous paragraphs. They are the under-heralded, the undersung, elements of these sides, compared to some of the other teammates that they've got, but they all play a massive role. Derby do try to venture forward. Whymark is off mark. We've got, although Liverpool continue to apply pressure, Rioch puts in a shot from distance, which goes wide. There's good build-up in it. There are some decent, Derby would go down at the end of this season. But you look at the players involved in that side, and this is kind of like a part of that era, because the lack of rotation, and the fact that it's predominantly, like Derby are kind of like going the opposite way here with 26 different players before Christmas. But predominantly each team are playing kind of like a set 11. Week in, week out, which Liverpool are proven to do, and Manchester United are proven to do, and they're prospering on the back of all that. But you've got players like, Dave Langham will go on to a decent career. You've got Jerry Daly, Dave Webb, Keith Osgood, Trevor Whymark, Roger Davies, Bruce Rioch. Yes, some of these are, their best days have gone, but there's a lot of kind of like know-how in this, amongst this ever-expanding Derby squad.
It's peculiar that they are in such trouble. I mean, you can look at Manchester City and you can say, well, okay, they Malcolm Allison brought in people like Tommy Caton and Ray Ranson and Steve McKenzie, who were all teenagers and good players, but it got a bit overwhelming for them. There's loads of experience to that Derby team, plenty of know-how, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of games between them, and yet they're just not coming together as a unit at all. And again, it's so much about football. It's confidence. It's about momentum, and that works in both directions. If you're feeling good and you're winning games, you carry on feeling good and winning games. If you're struggling and losing every week, you can't get out. You can't dig yourself out of the hole, and that seems to be what's happening to Derby, because they make some really poor decisions. We get into the second half and and Bruce Rioch goes over the top on Kenny Dalglish penalty. I mean, what's he thinking of? How did he think he's going to get away with that in the penalty area? Bruce Rioch went to the World Cup for Scotland, and it makes no sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. There is a very heavy first touch at play with that. I mean, as the players are going off at half time, Barry Davies declares that Roger Davies has been Prince Charming and an ugly sister all rolled into one. Our Barry is really looking forward to Christmas, and I think he's got some pantomime tickets for him and his family. Certainly for Boxing Day when no one's heading out to cover a game.
Yeah, he's had that. He had that one ready for quite some time.
He did. Yeah,
he made note of that his pad for when they're walking off at half time. But it does sum up Roger Davies' first half of football, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, to be fair to Derby, they do go in at the interval, level terms. For all the struggles from the second minute onwards. And they do have a bit of a go at the beginning of the second half, although it's all a bit untidy. But eventually that penalty comes, which is the killer for Derby. Rioch on Dalglish. It's amazingly Liverpool's first penalty in over a year. They've, I remember the argument of Liverpool getting loads of penalties, but that's not the case as the 1970s is drawn to a close.
Certainly not. No, it's an amazing statistic. After Bruce Rioch makes his fellas yellow cards being waved about left, right, and centre. And Terry McDermott, who clearly hasn't had a penalty tag for a really long time, he just rifles it into the bottom corner. No messing about at all. There's no worrying about that one. And that's Liverpool in front. And we all know what happens from there.
Do indeed. Yeah, McDermott puts McKellar the wrong way. There's just under 10 minutes of the second half gone. And that really is the killer for Derby. Within 4 minutes, Liverpool got the third goal. David Johnson, square ball by Dalglish, Alan Kennedy, with the ball down the left. It's one of those great but simple goals that Liverpool have scored in vast quantities thus far throughout 1979-80 season day.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, it starts with Alan Kennedy. It's a really good raking ball forward that David Webb misses. Dalglish collects it and he draws the goalkeeper towards him. Once the goalkeeper's in the wrong position, he just rolls it across the box. David Johnson's got a tap in for 3-1, game over, and let's look forward to Manchester United on Boxing Day.
Yeah, it's a ruthless performance from Liverpool, although it's not, it doesn't hit the levels of how much they flowed against Crystal Palace 7 days early, which we covered in a previous, the previous subsection, one of the paragraphs there. They've done enough. They know that Derby aren't coming back with half an hour still to play. There's Rioch is lucky to stay on the pitch. Is probably the one talking point from the last half hour. But there's also kind of like a bit of a there's a bit of an altercation. Some delayed seconds on that one. Alan Kennedy goes in, an uncompromising challenge, shall we say? There's a reaction from Kennedy, in this that sees that the referee flash a yellow card, despite Rioch trying to talk the referee out. He's clearly thinking the domino effect here. That if Alan Kennedy gets a yellow card in this situation, I've already got a yellow card. And Rioch is very, very quick to try and talk the referee down. It's a piece of genius from Bruce Rioch.
It works because he did, somehow, having made a terrible tackle on Kennedy to start it all off, which is worth a booking. He doesn't get one, and Alan Kennedy gives him a kick back. Does get the card, which I suppose he's right in Kennedy's situation. But Bruce Rioch, he's dead lucky to stay on the pitch, and you certainly don't want to be going down to 10 men, losing 3-1 to Liverpool. But that's pretty much the end of the action, really, from the game. As we said in the previous one about Manchester United when they were 3 up against Forest, it's all about just seeing the game out from there, with a minimum of effort, just seeing the game through and getting on to your next Christmas game.
It absolutely is. Other results, Dave, across that we mentioned, the Friday night games and the Saturday. We've seen action from all 3 of the First Division games that are played on this afternoon, which would made it there wasn't much wondering to do over what games you were going to get televised. The only ambiguity being that viewers in the ATV area were probably expecting a little bit of Notts County on Sunday afternoon on Star Soccer, but none of it. The Notts County's Division 2 fixture ended in a 2-2 draw. All the goals scored in the first half in the second division. But Derby County's 3-1 defeat at home to Liverpool, Everton's 2-1 defeat at home to Manchester City, and Manchester United's 3-0 victory over Nottingham Forest being those Saturday afternoon games. The Friday night football saw Arsenal 1-0 winners at home to Norwich, Frank Stapleton with the goal. We had Southampton 1-0 winners, ever improving Southampton 1-0 winners at Bristol City up to 4th place. On the back of that win, Ipswich Town 3-1 winners at home to Tottenham. We mentioned Tottenham in a previous subsection module, how they'd had that poor start to the season, lifted themselves admirably, and then a nosebleeds kind of kicked in, and they've had to have a bit of a sit down for a few games to compose themselves, and then so they can go again. Middlesbrough 3-0 winners at home to Bolton Wanderers. We've got Stoke City beaten 2-0 at home by Leeds United. Wolverhampton Wanderers down 3-1 at home to Brighton, Dave. West Brom, your game at Crystal Palace, was called off. We do have great improvements from at the minute down on the south coast. Things are bubbling along very, very nicely. Southampton's winners put them up to 4th place ahead of facing Arsenal on Boxing Day. Brighton, are off the foot of the table comfortably now. They are maybe just starting to get. Peter Ward, he's scored a hat-trick in this game against Wolves. The clearing up of his future, Nottingham Forest having loomed and then kind of like pulled out of that transfer. Suddenly he's kind of like enjoying his football. He knows he's, at least in the time being, remaining a Brighton player. Signs of revival on the south coast, Dave?
Yeah, and Brighton will sort of a team that get into grips with the first division now, and will go on and prosper in the second half of the season as well. Southampton, who had that dip, they started really well, playing particularly well at home, struggling away from home. But they seem to have got the recipe for winning away games a bit as well. They're up in 4th place, I think it is. And Ipswich, not on the south coast, but in the vicinity, finally starting to put it together as you would expect. We saw them in decent form a couple of modules ago, but now they're really starting to do what you'd expect Ipswich to do. Really, at that time, becoming a really powerful team that will start to draw away from the bottom end of the table and mix it towards the top end by the end of the season.
Yeah, the class is going to show there. Liverpool top of the table on 30 points ahead of Manchester United on goal difference, goal average. There's a 6-point gap back to Arsenal, who are on 24. It's Southampton, Crystal Palace, Norwich, Aston Villa all on 23. We've got Leeds, who are having a little bit of a mini revival themselves, on 22 alongside Wolves. Middlesbrough, Tottenham and Manchester City all on 21. Nottingham Forest down into the bottom half of the table, Dave, on 20. Now with Ipswich, and considering Ipswich were bottom 3 and Nottingham Forest were top in those first months of the season, they've now come and met, down in the bottom half of the table. Forest, dropping like a stone. Ipswich starting to rise. Also on 20, it's Coventry. We've got West Brom, Everton and Stoke all on 18. Bristol City on 17, just outside of the bottom 3. And then it's Derby and Brighton on 15, Bolton on 10. But in terms of Derby and Brighton, both on 15 points, but very much in different moods, shall we say. We've got Derby, really starting to struggle badly, but Brighton showing, like we said, signs of revival. Back page headlines in the week leading up to the games on December 22nd, Dave. Gordon Mill, the Coventry manager, has issued a hands-off Wallace notice. Ian Wallace is not for sale. He does admit that there are plenty of players available at Coventry, but Ian Wallace is not one of them. He's displayed the shop window, but had said that my most valuable asset is not for sale there, Dave.
That must be encouraging for every other Coventry player, that they're all surplus to requirements and can go at the right offer. It must be encouraging coming up to Christmas. Absolutely.
As part of Derby's travails, not that they've fielded enough players thus far, they've signed a young Kevin Wilson from Banbury for £20,000, Dave. This will prove a bit of a bargain in troubled times.
I mean, it is chaos theory a little bit at Derby at this stage, isn't it? I mean, as you say, if 26 players isn't enough, let's go and get another one and another one and another one. It's not going to really solve their problems over the course of this season, unfortunately. But it does speak of a lot of panic at the baseball ground.
It does indeed. Further transfer talk. Manchester United are set to sign Yugoslav international Nikolaj Jovanovic, 27-year-old defender from Red Star Belgrade. This is being deemed as Manchester United's first foreign player. I would expect some kind of Manchester United aficionado. Someone will know, who will massively know the stuff that can pluck someone out from the 1930s or the 1940s, the 50s or something. But as far as the Daily Mirror is concerned, this isn't your boys took a hell of a beating, pinning their badge on this. We say this with a little bit of uncertainty that this is. He might well be Manchester United's first foreign player, but we're pinning this on the Daily Mirror. They can take the glory if this is actually correct. They can take the brickbats if they are wrong, Dave. Nikolaj Jovanovic, I've vague recollections of it. I think more so as tipping up in the number 12 shirt rather than Ashley Grimes or Andy Ritchie on occasions.
Vague is definitely the word. He didn't come through and make the difference in the title race, did he? Let's be fair.
No, absolutely. Whymark corner. Manchester City have as if they've not got enough on their plate. They've taken a midweek trip to Madrid, Dave, to the Bernabeu to face Real Madrid in a friendly, and they've lost 5-2. And it's been quite the explosive game. There's been 4 send-ins off. Ultimately, it has. It's been chaos. Tommy Booth and Benito have been sent off in the 65th minute for a clash, for a difference of opinion, shall we say. And within 5 minutes, Ray Ranson has also been flashed a second yellow card. It's after a running feud with the Madrid substitute Rincon. Booth's after-match appraisal was that Benito had walked all over me. I stuck one on him. But I should have known better after all these years. Whymark, this we were... Maybe this is what Whymark's done. Maybe Whymark has followed them to Madrid, but enjoyed the ambiance so much that he's remained in the Spanish capital for the weekend.
Over there in the sun.
He is. Can't blame Whymark for that. But this is a glorious Manchester City diversion.
Given that you're coming up to Christmas, which is traditionally the busiest time of your year as a football club, why on earth would you be then adding in a friendly?
It is an oddity. It is an oddity. FA Cup themes, Dave. Harlow have beaten Southend in the second round replay to earn a trip to Leicester City.
Excellent.
In round 3. Mickey Mann scores the only goal. Glenn Hoddle is on the terraces. 5,000 packed in at Harlow to watch this glorious moment for the non-league outfit. The draw for the third round has been made, and the FA drop an absolute clanger. They've got the numbers mixed up. Wrexham have been allotted number 43 when they should have 44. Wolves have been noted down as 44 instead of 43. Within the draw, which has been done erroneously, Wolves have been handed a potential banana skin away at Notts County, whereas Wrexham are at home to Charlton Athletic. It should be the other way around. It should be it should be Wolves at home to Charlton and Wrexham going to Notts County. This comes under the headline of FA drop clanger. They got their balls mixed up. It's satisfying to see that under the currently omnipresent Ted Croker on Ted Croker's watch. There's been a mix-up with the third round draw, Dave.
Not even Ted Croker. The great Ted Croker is infallible. That's what
he's not infallible. The FA, nice to see the FA getting it wrong. Nice to see the FA getting it wrong. Amongst the standout ties for the third round, non-league Altrincham at home to Orient. Aston Villa will take the trip to Bristol Rovers. All very 1920s themed. Arsenal are heading to Cardiff City in the third round there. Chelsea will be at home to the winners of the replay. Or not even the replay at this point in time. It's just been perpetually postponed, and they're still waiting to play the first effort of this game between Northwich Victoria and Wigan Athletic. In terms of headline big clashes, Leeds United will take on Nottingham Forest at Ellen Road. Tottenham go up against Manchester United at White Hart Lane. Brighton will take a trip to Mansfield. As we said, Wolves are forced to go to Notts County against their will. We've also got Crystal Palace taking a trip to John Toshak's Swansea. Norwich City at Yeovil, Dave. That's a standout one. And Manchester City will travel to the winners of the replay between Walsall and Halifax Town. Surely things are going to get better for Manchester City in the new year, Dave.
Sure.
I mean, this win that they've had against Everton on this particular weekend, it's the springboard to a brighter new year.
It must be. The 1980s. Perhaps Manchester City are going to be the team of the 80s. After all,
now we're talking.
Crystal Palace nonsense.
Now we're talking. Absolutely. We do need to do one more thing. Like I said, the cameras were not sent out for Boxing Day as far as kind of like football was concerned. A rundown of the Boxing Day results for you. Arsenal 1, Tottenham 0. We've got Bolton 1, Everton 1. Brighton 3, Crystal Palace 0. Crystal Palace wheels are falling off somewhat, Dave.
Definitely.
Brighton, as you said, things are looking quite good for them at the minute. Derby County slipped to another defeat 2-1 at home to Coventry. Liverpool defeat Manchester United 2-0 in the big the clash. I think Sky would be decrying this to be a title decider at this point in time. No such talk in 1979, Dave. December 1979. Alan Hansen, David Johnson with the goals in front of 51,073 at Anfield. Manchester City, they're held to a draw at home by Stoke City. We've got Middlesbrough 3-1 winners at home to Leeds. Ipswich and Norwich, we've got another one that would have been great for the cameras there. Carrow Road, the East Anglian derby, ends in a 3-3 draw, Dave. Plenty of action that's being missed here. Nottingham Forest bounced back from their defeat at Old Trafford with a 2-1 win at home to Aston Villa. And again, Dave, cameras are not at the Hawthorns, but you win 3-0 against Bristol City. And Wolves get a goalless draw against Southampton. That Southampton-Arsenal game's coming up, I think, on the Saturday, actually. I haven't said it was a Boxing Day fixture. This now leaves with Liverpool's victory over Manchester United, puts them 2 points clear with that game in hand. They've still not played that opening day fixture yet against Wolves, Dave. Arsenal up to third, in 26 points now, ahead of Southampton on 24. Brighton's win has taken them out of the bottom three as part of that as well. Standout results from Boxing Day, Dave, none of which we'll be able to watch on Match of the Day, the big match, Star Soccer, kick-off.
It's obviously the Liverpool-Man United one, isn't it? I mean, as you say, not a decider, but it's certainly a big swing towards Liverpool, opening up a gap and with that game in hand. How can they have not played that game in hand yet? I mean, Liverpool were knocked out early on in the European Cup. There's been plenty of opportunities, surely, between August and Boxing Day to have got that Wolves game out the way. Very peculiar.
But no. Yeah, maybe waiting to see if they're knocked out of the FA Cup early.
Yes.
The two of them thinking, we could use a fourth or a fifth round weekend. Dave, brilliant as ever. Have a wonderful Christmas. Party hats, crackers, galore. A tangerine somewhere involved.
Sure. At least one tangerine, surely.
And I think we're looking forward to a Christmas soccer annual, Dave, would be good amongst all this as well.
That would be excellent.
And very much looking forward to the Christmas edition of Shoot to see what's in there as well. Which
some player dressed up as Father Christmas on the front cover.
There must be. We'll be very disappointed if not. Dave, thank you so much. As ever, join us again next time for the next subsection modules and paragraphs of 1979-80 Revisited, part of the Your Boys Took a Hell of a Beating lexicon. Thank you. Goodbye. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.